Okay, you're good. Good to go.
Sure enough, she filled the full.
That's me, probably calling you.
Hey.
I see the board is on.
Wow. Like he was nervous, like he was making lying.
Hey, could you check for me?
Nelsonville,
Maybe you have,
we called it, my friends went to, we called it Redneck Tech. Yeah. Hockey.
Yeah, finally
They always called it
got
Nelson.
that property next to me.
Yep.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the Board of Zoning Appeals to order at 5 PM. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Golis,
Here.
Mr. Vukatek,
Here.
Mr. Andrus,
Here.
Mr. Reed,
Here.
Chairman Rowe.
Here. Can I get an approval of the September 22nd, 2021 regular meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes. I'll second.
Roll call.
Okay, who motioned?
Ron.
Mr. Vukatek,
Yes.
Mr. Andrus,
Yes.
Mr. Golis,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Chairman Rowe.
Yes. All right, so when I state your case, your waiver, just make sure you step up to the podium, sign in, state your name, and then give us a little bit of additional information on the request that you're asking for. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. First waiver is W1673-21, waiver of ordinance 069-2020, section 1155.02A, relating to fences. The location is 5010 Chardonnay Lane. The applicant owner is Chad White.
Good evening. I'm Chad White, and I'm the property owner. Since we've lived there, we moved in 2014 there. There wasn't near the amount of people living there and as much traffic. And as the subdivision got bigger, more kids moved into it. And we had a little kid in our backyard, and I have an in-ground pool. And luckily I was home and saw him back there. So I didn't realize, and I know ignorance isn't an exception for the law, but I didn't know that our side yard was considered a front yard. So I put a privacy fence up to protect my property, not only from the children of the neighborhood from going in the pool, but also the traffic on Wynn has almost tripled since we moved in. And as my wife and my daughter lay out, they get, catcalled, honked at. People pull over and see what they're doing. And it's almost a safety issue at this point because we don't know what's going to happen from that point. So that's my case.
And we don't have a fence permit, or else this could have been resolved then. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Questions from the board?
There's a side yard, front yard thing where Glen Road's considered front yard.
Two front yards.
Two
correct?
front yards.
That's correct.
The ordinance is going to be revised, my understanding, or,
Not that I know
okay. But we've had these before.
of. Correct. Our problems are always on the corner lots.
Okay.
Well, I think a 4-foot fence would give you the security you need as far as anyone climbing into your backyard. We struggle with these because we get a lot of them. Precedence is kind of something we don't really want to set. It looks like it's right up against the sidewalk too, isn't it? Like right on the sidewalk.
Yeah, it's like a foot off of it. But the sidewalk is actually pushed into my property as well. It's supposed to be 3 feet out from what I understood when we bought the house.
Now, the fence that it's connecting to, looking at it from the road, looks like the backyard fence is considerably shorter than the side yard fence.
Yeah, we're changing that next to, because that fence is old as well.
And you know that even though that's your backyard, it can't come beyond the front side of your fence at the 6-foot level. Besides the face of your what would be the west side of your house. You follow me? In other words, that fence cannot get to that same height that we're here debating tonight beyond your side of your house, your west side, even though it's your backyard. That's the plane you can't break with the 4-foot fence.
Oh, really?
Yeah, does
Okay.
that make sense? So in other
So
words, the fence,
the side yard where that,
your side of your house, your west side of your house is also the front of your house. So the
You have
fence
two
cannot,
front yards.
it can't come beyond what they're considering the front of your house. So the 4-foot fence, the 6-foot fence can come across until it breaks the plane of your garage wall. It can't go all the way to the corner, even though it's your backyard. It's also your front yard.
okay.
Does that make sense? Before you do that again, and if the circumstances come to that and you put that up, then you're in violation also if you take that to that corner.
Okay.
So just a little, so you know.
Depending on the outcome of this meeting here, if there needs to be an alteration,
Right. So we
I'm
don't
going
have
to
to come again.
suggest come in and I'll show them where it can be. Okay.
Okay.
Depending on the outcome of this meeting here.
Right. Meaning if it was to pass, then would that allow him to take that other fence to that point without having to come again?
Correct.
So we looked at one of these similar to this last month, and however, they were off of the sidewalk, like 8 feet, and planning on putting landscaping to break the buffer, I think.
Well, in the last case, there was already landscaping in place
That's what it was.
with a mound,
Correct.
and it had a huge,
Yeah, that was,
Barrier.
that was a different one. Then I'm thinking of the one that was
The Drake?
yeah.
No, this was
Not
at
the
the
Drake,
Drake.
the one,
One off.
subdivision behind.
North
it.
Stadium
Off
down there.
Corduroy?
I don't remember that.
We had another one that was similar, except for the retention pond was across the street. And,
Which had an arborvitae.
correct, there was a landscaping buffer basically between the sidewalk and the fence.
That was the Drake too.
Yeah, that one similar, but
Yeah, okay.
so, and I can't remember what the distance was. I think it was 8 feet off of the sidewalk before the start of the fence. If I remember correctly, with the one across the street from the retention.
Oh, I know where you're talking
Well, his fence wasn't erected yet.
No,
And we allowed it with the stipulation you had to stay off the
Correct.
sidewalk back. Where it's not such a view from the road going way out there. And it was a different style of road also, but
I guess, is there any thoughts about entertaining whether whether you would push that fence back off of that sidewalk to put some landscaping in front of it to try and screen it? It's not the most attractive thing driving down that road. I guess that's the appearance issue, I think, is what the concern of why the zoning code is what it is. So that you don't drive down a road and see a 6-foot fence. I mean, if everybody on that road put 6-foot tall fence, be driving down a road seeing nothing but 6-foot
Yeah.
tall fences.
I mean,
So-
if you need us to back it up, 6 feet, and then we put some landscaping in front of it, we can do that as well if we need to. It's just, pulling the fence out and moving it back and then putting it back in.
I mean, that's just, like I said, again, these come before us and it's always a corner lot condition. It seems like the last couple we've looked at it, both had landscaping and off of the sidewalk just to try and help screen some of them.
I agree.
Any other questions from the board?
The only other thing I was gonna do too was, I was actually gonna put lighting at the top of it to kind of dress it up and make it look good.
I don't,
I haven't got to that part yet.
That
Kind of light up
might-
the
that might be
sidewalk as
safety,
people walk
that
by.
might be worse.
I don't know that I would push for that.
Well, it might become a safety issue as people drive with the distraction of the light. I mean, we even have that on the main thoroughfares where they're pretty particular about what type of lighting goes up that close to the roadway.
Has engineering looked at how close this fence is to that corner?
With regards to site distance?
Yeah.
You know, I did not personally do that. I don't know if Mark sent it to them or not. You want me to see if Paul's here? Or
Sure.
Rodney's here, wasn't he?
Yeah, they let
Rodney's
me in the
here.
building.
want me to call Rodney?
Any other questions from the board?
I see the neighbor directly across the street has a pool. And they have a 4-foot fence and shrubs around theirs.
They
Yeah,
have tall shrubs.
and the thing is their pool has no water and no protection either. So that's even an even bigger hazard.
Well, you can't have a pool in the city without a fence. So a
Yeah.
4-foot fence, that's code. So that's a whole nother situation if it didn't comply, but
Kelly, is Paul or Rodney around that they could come down to the Board of Zoning Appeal real quick? Okay, thanks. Bye. He's coming.
all right.
You know, I don't believe it would be a site distance problem, only because there is quite a bit of right of way before. the
Yeah,
building.
I just want to
Okay,
make sure. on the
but,
corner.
but we'll ask.
I know in the past, I think that Mark or whoever's usually shared it with them, make sure that there wasn't an issue.
Yeah, we usually do.
It's a pretty high trafficked road. All right, I guess anybody else here to speak for or against the matter? So I guess we'll get an opinion back from engineering on the corner. I guess, is there any other discussion we want to have about whether we would entertain pushing landscaping? Whether that's something we,
So put that stipulation in. How far back then, if we are gonna put that stipulation, how far would the privacy fence itself have to come off and then with the landscaping in front of it? 8 feet? Would
pretty
that be-
sure that was what the last one was.
I mean, that was the precedence from the earlier one.
What are your fence posts spaced at?
They're spaced every 6 foot.
8 feet?
No, every 8 feet, yeah. 'cause
They
it's
probably
6
want to
by
make
8.
it,
8 feet.
so we can keep the panels up, not have to split a panel.
So they're 8.
So you're at 8 or 16 or some multiple of that.
Yeah, they're pretty easy.
That wasn't Rodney.
No.
I thought maybe they had Rodney doing maintenance.
On his off time.
So if we take a panel section back and get some landscaping, like some arborvitae's or something in there to try and help screen it. Is that? I don't know, I'm trying to think through.
I'll just go on record and say that, I don't like privacy fences, tall privacy fences on corner lots like this. And I know it stinks when you have a corner lot like that because you give up all of that yard. But the zoning code's written that way for the appearance. And, if you look at the one that's across the street where they have the 4-foot high fence, but even taller arborvitae's, I think that's much more pleasing to the eye than just a solid wall is. And I'm never in favor of these on the corner like this.
Well, it's not the most attractive. Like I said, if there were a whole string of 6-foot tall fences riding all the way up and down, when it's just not the appearance.
I mean, I see them all over the place.
Not in
In
front of
what?
yard, you don't.
There's one right over on the corner over here. They have an in-ground pool and they have a 6-foot privacy fence going around it.
On the Drake,
No, right over here on Stadium in Seaman right here, this corner house.
Is it the pool they just built?
Yeah, it's the one they just.
Caddy corner.
Paul, the question.
It's right across
is
from
I
the
don't
old
know
ice cream place.
If.
But
Yeah,
that,
caddy
Mark came
corner.
down and-
that's
they had
not
to
on the corner
go
though,
for
out by,
variance
Yeah,
both by
they got the
Seaman and
front.
Stadium, he's behind his house.
Six
though.
rack.
It's both on the corners. It butts right up to
4
his
foot.
garage.
Yeah, but
Correct.
he's coming out
Right, but he
closer
hasn't
towards
come past the
Stadium, but
garage.
not Seaman.
Right.
Not
You're
in
going
the-
out in the other way where
Yeah, I'm
if you
coming
wanted to
straight
compare,
down.
he'd be, you know, on his property, it'd be out
Would that
on
be-
Seaman also.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what, you know, if you were talking about, you know,
Right, in other words, you're allowed to come back
yeah,
where he has it tied to his house. That's the breaking point. That's where he
We
can't
have
come
it
any
up
farther
there.
with 6. But you're, same deal here. You could put a 6-foot fence as long as you don't go beyond what we're calling the front of your house, which is really the side of your house. Does that make sense? So if you move that
Yeah, it
fence
can
all the
be.
way
So-
back to the corner of your house,
Uh-huh,
you wouldn't have to ask for permission to have a 6-foot fence there.
okay.
and even
Come
though it
beyond
looks
the-
like your pool patio sticks out a little closer towards Wynn than your house does,
Yeah,
I wouldn't even be opposed to letting you go to the edge of that patio, but I don't
Right,
like
or
them
even-
way out on the right of way like that
We've
by the
given
sidewalk.
one 6-foot section and then turn to get around
Yeah.
AC units and stuff on a few in town closer
Well.
to where they're almost what would
the
line
way
up
they're
with your
talking,
offsetting
Paul,
fence.
we might make it
You're almost
regular.
legal there. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Because you can't break this plane
Certainly at 8
on
feet.
your side yard, which is a front yard, or you can take it to the front corner of your house, but not beyond. So those two imaginary planes,
Well,
they're
we'll make it
in
subject
6 foot is
to-
okay. From there out,
The result.
4 foot is
Okay.
only allowed. Does that
I
make
think
sense?
that's fair.
So the guy
Yeah.
that you're seeing up on Seaman where he comes to the corner
Yeah.
of his house, he's legal because he hasn't gone
Yeah.
to the west
Well,
any farther
Whatever they come up with.
beyond
we'll
his
make it
building
subject
line.
to
Does
your-
that make sense?
It'd be the same if he were to put a 6 or 8 foot high privacy fence on the right of way of Stadium or on the right of way of Seaman. You know, that's the issue. If it's
Beyond,
behind his
beyond the
house,
building line.
you can do it.
Yeah.
What did Paul say? I missed.
Paul just said, whatever you guys come up with, we'll make it subject to his approval on site distance. Okay. Not
Yeah.
knowing.
Because that's gonna require him a drive-by to really.
Right, he wants to
observe it
drop.
properly.
At present, what is the length of the non-conformance? Are we talking how many sections? How many sections of fence go past the base of the house now?
That's probably 25-foot setback
At
there,
least.
isn't it?
At least.
Maybe 30.
And what was there before? Was there a 4-foot
It
fence?
was a
That's 25.
split rail.
Is it split rail?
Yeah. That's what the little kid climbed to get into my backyard. So,
And the guy across the street has a 4-foot with arborvitae's, and you were saying that the rest of that yard is not fenced in? His pool's accessible
It's-
out of? There's no fence?
It is, but it isn't. It is, the fence is tore apart. I mean, if you guys drove by there and saw it, you'd see, the fence is tore apart.
I drove by it.
That could be.
Yeah, I drove by, but I was more focused on your fence. Not looking at the other fence. All right, if there's nobody else here to, anybody else here speak for or against the matter, and if there's no other questions from the board, I guess. Are we ready to entertain a motion, or we still want to discuss options here and ask questions of this homeowner, what they would entertain before we make a motion? You guys, anything?
Can we formulate 2 different motions and vote on them separately?
Well, why,
Or is it an
why
all or
don't you
nothing?
do the one that's least restrictive first? And if that doesn't pass, then you can go to the more restrictive.
So a motion would be made as presented, and then a motion could be made as an alternative. You're saying we're allowed to have two motions on one?
Well, I think you have to come to,
I think we need some sort of agreement on what the motion.
sure, okay. That's usually what you guys,
So, yes, so what I'm saying, I don't think that this board, it's sounding like this board's probably not in real favor of the existing condition. I think what we've entertained in a couple past situations, which are, again, every situation is a little different than the next, but we've entertained some sort of a setback off of a sidewalk with some sort of a landscape, arborvitae, and I don't know how detailed we need to get on that, but some sort of a landscaping bed to sort of screen that fence. So if that's something that you would be interested in, then I think we could make a motion that way, or we could not even look at that, and we can just make the motion based on the request you have. It's up to you to
Okay.
tell us what motion you want us, or we can think about it. We don't have to vote this month. We can come look at it next month.
And I think another option on the motion, rather than to establish a distance off the sidewalk, we could set it up with a distance beyond the legal point. In other words, one section beyond the front side of the side, and then continue, you know what I mean, where he's only encroaching on the distance by
encroaching into
6.
the front yard so many feet.
Right, like only to go beyond. In other words, if 6 feet takes him beyond his patio and gives him room, his pool apron, then he's only 6 feet encroaching on the legal fence he could put there. I don't know the difference between 6 foot off the corner of his house, which is the legal plane, or 8 feet in off of the sidewalk. I don't know what that distance between the
Right.
back side of sidewalk and
And-
the garage is.
And I think we could figure that out. You could word it in such a way that the fence will encompass the apron of the pool and or the patio.
There you go.
Correct, not to go beyond that, more than within reason, a foot away, something that's
Within a foot,
buildable and.
should be placed within. a foot.
Does that make sense, what we're saying? In other, well, so when the corner of your house in the apron of your pool already extends to the west
Well,
slightly from that view. maybe
That's
5,
an
6
old
feet.
view of my house. I actually have a 3-season porch now that's 20 by 20, and then a deck that comes off of that.
Heading in which direction? Heading
Heading
to the
towards the
south?
pool.
Yeah.
So not
Yeah.
west.
So in other words, imaginary line, entertaining putting it to the west of your apron, the concrete, like 1 foot, and taking it back and reconnecting it to your garage. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? In other words, from there, then you could continue 6 foot around to the backside.
Do you want to go in past the patio?
Basically talking about lining it up where that jog is in there.
Correct, and taking that straight up to the front of the garage.
Right.
So you're only breaking the rule by 6 feet. Approximately. It's hard to tell on scale.
Yeah, that
how
is the
far
house,
that
right.
is.
It's a house.
You could say 8 feet.
Or the house side, whatever the west side of the house.
Look at that, we got a pointer. It was working.
Still put it in your eyes.
Here. I have a hard time seeing it because I'm colorblind. I can't see it on the screen.
You're talking about coming.
Yeah, I see it moving
Yeah,
now. So yeah, basically going up straight from that vertical line there at the bottom, all the way up and then return into the back corner of the house.
Where do you want it returning into the garage at? To the
Well,
front
he
of the
can
garage?
technically go all the way to the front of the garage.
Okay, all the way to the front. Okay.
Technically, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Or the
Very
back, whichever, I mean, cause how many feet are you gonna have between that and the garage then, Could be tight.
Well, maybe 8 feet.
Yeah.
By looking at it from scaling from here, maybe 9 feet, which I don't have a problem with that.
You're talking about probably coming off the front of the house, a distance of 10, maybe 12 feet, and then coming straight back.
Whatever
South.
whatever 1 foot beyond his apron creates at that point.
Yeah.
It's hard to scale from here. That might be,
Yeah.
might be 8 feet, might be 10.
Yeah. Is
Give
it,
him a little extra.
yeah, give them a little extra. I don't
Room
think
enough to get
12
down
feet
through
from
there
the
and-
house is
Right.
gonna make a difference.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
All right, well, if you guys won't, we'll just chop it down to 4 feet. We'll put the house on the market. I don't know what else to do. I'm gonna protect my family, so if that's what you guys want to do, 4 foot, then that's what we'll do.
Well,
We'll do
4 foot, you don't need to be here.
Yeah.
You're here for a 6-foot fence, so
Yeah,
we're asking if you want to try and meet somewhere in the middle on shifting a 6-foot fence, so it's off of that. And that's the magic number. We're trying to figure out what that is so that you still have, put landscaping there in front of it.
yeah, that, so I still have a yard, you know what I mean? Because if I put that privacy fence there, I have no yard for my dogs.
All right, so if you don't want to look at an alternative method, then we can have a motion on the presented case and go
As it,
from there.
as it was presented.
Correct. That's fine.
Or
Right.
he can withdraw too if he wants to just go to 4 feet, right? We don't even have to vote on it.
Well,
I don't think he wants to.
we're
change
here.
I
We're
paid
here.
$40, so.
Yeah,
So
we're
he wants a
here.
vote.
We're
Okay.
here. I mean, we heard the case.
Right.
We should follow through with it.
Okay, well, I guess with that, I would entertain a motion.
And if you realize, if you were gonna pull that back 8 feet from where it existingly is, and we're willing to give you somewhere between 8 and 9, depending on what that line is, you're kind of splitting, you're kind, I don't, yeah, do you know how far that distance is from your fence to your house?
From the fence to my house, that's 60 feet.
60 feet?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then from
I know it's up quite a bit.
here to there is 150 feet. That's up to that.
No, your lot
So you
size
have-
or
you
the
have-
fence?
The fence, well, that fence is.
From that, what he's asking is the fence,
12 It's 12 or 13 panels that are 8 feet long.
Going away from your
Going
house?
the length of
Right, yeah,
the
that,
thing.
but what about the other section? Is
The
there
other section there is,
3?
From the house to the sidewalk.
It's 5.
That's 5, 6 footers, so it's 30 feet.
No,
5
5
8
footers.
footers.
5, 8 footers, so it's 40 feet.
40 feet, yep.
Yeah, that's a pretty big area.
Go back 20, split it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good size area. Mm.
so where are we at? Entertain a motion then, as presented?
Are we still working on the possible compromise motion?
No?
I don't know if the applicant is
Yeah, do
willing.
it as drawn.
to-
Okay.
Correct.
Well, they're saying that we could move that, Peter, 10 feet. You know, off of the, sidewalk. And then just put some landscaping in front of the sidewalk.
If that's 40 feet, I'd be better off. Like 2 sections.
I mean, yeah.
You know what I mean?
You just 2 sections into the.
Yeah, like 6.
What, if I move it back 10 feet
Pull it back 16.
and then put up, like every, 8 feet some alvarita, so you know, in order to grow, or should I get closer with alvarita?
Well, usually they go closer with that because
Okay.
they don't grow out.
They
grow
grow
up.
Right.
Okay, so what kind of distance are you guys looking for as far as the alvarita goes?
I'd say one on each panel because you're using it as
As center?
decoration rather than cover, right?
It'd be decorative if you put one on each panel, in the center of each
In the
panel.
center of each panel? I mean, I'd be willing to do that, move back 10 feet and put a alvarado over each one, or in the center of each one.
And that would still leave you adequate room for your,
The yard and the pool and the privacy from the road.
Yeah, it's 40 feet, so it gives them 30 feet.
Well, if that's what you're willing to do, why don't you change your ask to that and have them vote on
But, yeah, I'll change my answer to that.
it? Okay,
yeah.
I mean, if that's your
Yeah.
limit,
Yeah,
you're
if
willing to
we'll-
do-
We'll come back, 10 feet and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll put the alvarado up
one on every,
Dress it
at
up.
least one on every panel.
and one on every panel.
All right, so I need a motion to basically modify the variance request, shifting 10 feet and arborvitae every panel. Whoever wants to make a motion.
Also move. I'll make a motion
Two.
to allow the privacy fence to be 10 feet east of the sidewalk and have an arborvitae placed in the center of each panel.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Andres,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Golis,
No.
Mr. Vukutek,
No.
Chairman Rowe,
Yes. All right, you're all set.
How much time do I have?
How much time do you
5
need?
minutes.
Probably at least 60 days,
Okay,
because I have to do it on a weekend.
okay. 60 days it is.
I'll just slowly just have to put back, and then
Okay,
like in the spring, we'll plan all that about it.
that's fine.
Okay.
All right?
All right, thank you.
Oh,
All right, we will adjourn the Board of Zoning Appeals at 5:31 PM and open the Board of Residential Building Appeals at 5:31 PM. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Golis,
Here.
Mr. Vukutek,
Here.
Mr. Andres,
Here.
Mr. Reed,
Here.
Chairman Rowe,
Here. All right, just like the Board of Zoning Appeals, just make sure whoever you're planning on speaking for the appeal steps up to the podium. Make sure you're signed in, state your name, and give us a little bit more information about the request. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. First appeal is A28-21, appeal of section 2019 RCO 307.1 relating to minimum fixture clearances. The location is 4341 Brown Road. The applicant is Blake and Anna Powell.
Hello, gentlemen. My name is Derek Feltman. I'm part owner of Design to Construct. Just wanted to mention, it's the first time I built in Oregon before. I've been a builder since '97, and just some feedback. You guys have been really good to work with. Very thoughtful and considerate. There's a few times I asked for things to move quickly, and it seemed like everybody cared to help, and that was really nice. I've worked with plenty of other municipalities, and even just watching you guys deal with this particular previous request, you're thoughtful and helpful, and that is not the norm. So appreciate that, guys. So I was fortunate enough to be employed by or hired by Mr. Blake Powell to build his home for him, and he's been really great to work with. One of my favorite customers, actually. And yes, he did pay me to say that. But just kidding. He's a really great guy and a good family. I appreciate working with them. So what we ran into with designing the mother-in-law suite is a bathroom that was really tight. And so initially on the print, we had a 30-inch vanity and then a toilet and then a shower. It was framed pretty close to what was asked or laid out in the print. It was about 1.5 inches less. And so as we're putting that together, the other thing that he decided to add after the contract was a toilet that's not just a sit on the floor toilet. It's a wall mounted toilet with a tank inside the wall. It's really cool and pretty fancy. However, in order to install those, there has to be framing and then this big contraption by Kohler that's hidden in the wall. On the other side of the wall, we have a laundry room. So that wall has a lot of utilities and mechanical stuff going through it. And so when we got to the final inspection for the plumbing, they noticed that the toilet's a little close to the shower. And I believe there's pictures that the inspector took. And you guys have those pictures by chance?
I don't.
I don't have any pictures in the file.
Oh, I'm sorry. He
Yeah.
said he was going to bring the pictures. My apologies. However, all right, so I'll explain what's there then. So there's a toilet, and then where the shower is, we have a tile shower, and the tile stops, and then there's drywall. It doesn't continue throughout the whole wall. From the middle of the toilet to the edge of that tile is 12.5 inches, and then the shower has a glass shower door, and the shower door from the middle of the toilet to the shower door is 15.5 inches. So then the curb at the floor does encroach within, I'm sorry, 15 inches. So the curb at the floor does encroach on the shower slightly. I think it's around 13 inches. But that's, obviously at your feet. That's about 2 or 3 inches high. So we had Anna come in and take a look, and then Blake take a look at it, sat down at the toilet. And because the wall or the glass shower door is 15 inches away, there's no restriction as far as sitting down. And then, sitting there, your foot doesn't necessarily go over that far. So we're really close to what we need for it. Essentially, the curb is the biggest issue because it encroaches on that. Anna said, this is fine. There's no, you don't feel cramped. And so, we're asking, and at the same time, this weekend, we're trying to finish up getting through one more inspection and having them move in or hand the house over to them this weekend. Moving this would be really, we would not make it. It would probably delay it a couple weeks or so. So this is what our ask is.
How much room's on the other side of that toilet to the, say, you said to the sink?
To the
or the
vanity.
Yeah, the vanity was supposed to be a 30-inch, it changed to a 24. So if it was a 30, it would have been about 15 inches. Now that it's a 24, there's a little bit more room there. So hindsight being 2020, we should have got through maybe picking out some cabinets before it was designed.
So you
And we
had
could have
plenty of
moved it
room on
over.
the other side, but to move it now, you're gonna tear out walls, towel and everything else, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of work now.
So the curb is the only thing that's encroaching on the code limit,
Yeah.
the glass is not.
Right.
And the curb is just a short 2 to 3 inch double plate with tile.
So.
And how far does that curb come out in depth wise in comparison to the nose of the toilet? Does the curb come all the way past it?
Yeah, it's-
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I see.
I mean, it's,
So when you're sitting down, your shoulders have plenty of room, or it's the
Yeah.
15, it's just at the feet that there's that curb.
again, I apologize for not bringing pictures. I thought
Well,
you would have. So,
yeah,
my
I
mistake.
think we got a clear picture though,
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
what's there.
So in effect, you have a vanity, toilet, and a full-length shower here, right?
You got it.
Okay. And that curb is right there. That's 12 and a half. And that's,
And I believe we're at the finished state, right? The
Yeah.
floor's in,
Mhm.
everything's in, right?
Yeah, it's complete.
This is-
I think
that's
the
glass.
intent of the code
So you're 12 and a half from
is
here.
for fixture clearances
Here.
is more so
Here.
you're not,
Bunched in.
if you don't have a ton of, you're so condensed that you don't have room to maneuver from one fixture to the next fixture. So it doesn't sound like that's the case.
I agree with you.
That this room has plenty of room. It's just a matter of that.
Mhm.
We've got a toilet that's
And I think when they
Little
built
too
my
close.
house, this must not have been.
No. correct.
Yeah.
I'm-
I
25
would
years
say,
I've sat like
as a
I've been
building
trouble at school.
department.
And when
I'm
the
allowed to
inspector
make
was there on the
comment
rough,
and-
that shower
but
curb and
I
everything
don't
else was
think
not
we
in.
have a real problem with it. It just doesn't meet.
When the plumbing inspector was
code.
there on the rough, that shower curtain, that
Correct.
shower curb was not in place.
That's correct. Yeah.
So
I don't
can't
know.
yell
if-
at him too much.
And-
I don't know if you heard
They
me
did a
though.
good job.
Yeah.
At the same time, we're trying to not make the shower too tight because, you're in there and you want to have room to move
Right.
around. And so it's already a little bit tight, but
Yeah, well, being that this is a Board of Building Appeal, I'm allowed to make a comment what our side is on it. It doesn't meet the letter of the law, but I think it meets the intent.
Correct.
And I don't think, I know, as the building department, we would be in favor of a variance, if that helps.
We've had more than one of these toilet centerings, haven't we?
Yes. Oh, yes.
All right. Is there anybody else here to speak for or against the matter?
I'll speak for it. I don't know, I don't know what
You're good.
yeah.
All right. Any other questions from the board? With that, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept A 28-21
I'll support.
Roll call.
Mr. Lukastek?
Yes.
Mr. Andrus?
Yes.
Mr. Rollis?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Chairman Rowe?
Yes. Okay, you're all set.
Thank you, gentlemen.
With that, we will adjourn the Board of Residential Building Appeals at 5:40 PM.
I can see how that would mess.
Yeah. It's hard when you're doing rough like that.
Mm.